Welcome, fellow Stardust. Are you ready for a scare? I see you've come back for more. If you're new here, buckle up, and thank you all for joining me today. My name is Teray, aka Rainbow Fright, lover of all things dark, creepy, and weird. Today's movie review will be on thriller slasher Black Christmas.
Hello? Hello?
Happy Pride Month, Stardust. I hope everyone is enjoying this month, celebrating themselves and their loved ones. And thank you, Shaquille Stanley, for your subscriber request. When I saw your submission, I was more than happy to add this one to the list. I've been due for a rewatch on this one for some time. I also wanted to say thank you for your support of my channel and for being a passenger on this Rainbow Fright freight train. And I mentioned in my last subscriber request that I will not be taking any requests at the moment because I want to switch up how I do them. My waitlist was almost a year out and I want to prevent that from happening. So once I figure out exactly what I want to do, I'll let y'all know. So as you can see, I am in a different location with a different setup. If you follow me on social media or saw my last live video, or if you watched my discussion with Karen and Daniela on their episode of Screams and Spirits on Ocean Chicks Films channel, you'd know that I am here in Denver for the month of June. Brandon has been getting a lot of work here since he and his company acquired their latest client. When he found out he had to be here for a month, he asked if I wanted to join him, and I said, hell yeah. I thought it'd be a great opportunity to get some awesome content for my channel. So far, I've gone to the Stanley Hotel, a bunch of different restaurants, and I did a double feature at one of the United Artists movie theaters. I've got a bunch of other places in mind that I want to visit, so keep an eye out for those videos in July. Another update I mentioned in my live video is that I will now only be uploading videos on Fridays instead of Tuesday and Friday. This will allow me to experiment with different kinds of videos as well as create better content. For the rest of this month while I'm in Denver, I'm not too sure how many more videos I'll get out, but you can expect a full schedule next month. Okay, let's get into this review already. Black Christmas. And if you don't know already, no, this is not a black exploitation film.
Hold it right there, Spook. Yeah, you're gonna be a spook for real pretty soon.
Instead, it is one of the godfathers of the slasher genre. It certainly wasn't the first slasher, but it definitely propelled the genre into the trajectory that it's in currently. Black Christmas follows a group of sorority girls who have just started their winter vacation. After their final semester party, they begin to get obscene calls. Some girls go home and some girls don't. The film stars Margot Kidder, who becomes Lois Lane 4 years later, John Saxon, Olivia Hussey, Keir Dullea, and Andrea Martin. The screenplay was written by Roy Moore and the film was directed by Bob Clark, who is also known for Porky's, Baby Geniuses, and one of my childhood favorites, A Christmas Story. Black Christmas was Bob's last horror film, even though fans eagerly waited for years for a sequel. One of those fans was John Carpenter, who he ended up working with on a project in the 80s that was never completed. While working together, John asked Bob if he had done a sequel, what would the story have been? And Bob said the story would have taken place 10 years later, and in that time, the killer would have been captured, institutionalized, and then he would have escaped. And the film would have started on the night that he escaped, which would have been Halloween night, to continue his killing spree, and he would have called it Halloween. John took that idea and made it his own, giving us the franchise that we know and love today, and Bob gives him all the credit. John even poses his victims' bodies the way Bob did in Black Christmas. Both Black Christmas and Halloween were almost called Babysitters, which I think would have been a huge mistake. In fact, Warner Brothers actually changed the title to Silent Night, Evil Night because they were afraid that the title Black Christmas would confuse people into thinking that it was a black exploitation film.
Well, they're soul brothers. They came down so I could teach him the handshake.
But they eventually changed it back to the original title. Silent Night, Evil Night sounded too much like a ripoff of Silent Night, Bloody Night, so I'm glad that didn't stick. Although this Canadian film was shot in Canada, the story is set in America. To really drive this home, you can see American flags in various shots, but if you're from Canada, you'll recognize a lot of the landmarks and product brands that are Canadian. The filmmakers decided to do this in hopes that it would reach a broader audience, since American films tend to be more widely watched by people from all over the world. As on edge as this film puts you, we don't get any on-screen kills. Just like in Trick or Treat, which I reviewed a couple of weeks ago, despite the lack of blood and hardcore violence, we're still waiting in anticipation for the next kill throughout the entire film. One thing this film does that I really love is the juxtaposition between sweet and evil. As some of you already know, I just love it when a film uses a lullaby or a song that's supposed to be sweet and happy as the background, theme, or even the warning for something sinister to come. In this film, we see children caroling outside of the sorority house, while we also witness the stabbing of one of the women. Another thing that I really love about this movie is that we jump right into the creepiness at the very beginning, with the subjective camera creeping around the house and climbing up the trellis. Soon after that, we get a little bit of background about some of the women, and we immediately feel for poor Barb, who is being neglected by her selfish mother. Not long after that, the women get their first call from Billy, who says some sexually explicit things that were pretty taboo for the time. The first time I watched this, my eyes got real big because I was so surprised that it just kept going. Sure, say one or two words here and there to be daring, but this seemed like a full minute of just straight vulgar language. And these phone calls throughout the film were way more terrifying than any copycat that came after it, like Scream, because Billy, the caller, was just so nonsensical in what he was saying and using all different kinds of voices that it seemed like he was just jumping from one personality to another. It's hard to really figure out what Billy's motivation is, but all we can really tell is that he's upset with Agnes and now he's taking out his anger on her on these women. For some people, it just takes one woman for them to hate all women. I think it's safe to say that Billy from Scream is named after this Billy, who actually ends up being more than one person at the end of the film. And just like Black Christmas, Scream also used dark humor. Black Christmas was not only a thriller that was able to create tension, but it also gave us a lot of comedic relief, and that humor was pretty risque. Even though this movie pretty much sets up the stage for future slashers, it still stands out as something original and unique because of the taboo topics that it touches on and the roles that the women play in the film. We have women, especially Barb, making derogatory jokes and comments unashamedly, and the decor in the home gives off the vibe that these women are educated, self-sustaining, and sexually free. Also, slashers are notorious for having a final girl, and usually that girl is perceived to be a virgin or the most innocent person in the group. But in Black Christmas, our perceived virgin is the first one to be killed off, and our final girl ends up being a woman who is pregnant out of wedlock. And sorry y'all if there's all kinds of noise going on, I can barely hear it, but sometimes I can feel it on my feet. I'm here in a hotel because our host from our Airbnb was absolute garbage, which I'll tell you this story very soon after we get our refund, but I'm right next to an airport and this hotel is full of people, so I apologize for any extra noise. All right, let's get back to it. While we have these strong, independent women on one hand, on the other, we have the men, the boyfriends, cops, father, and whoever else, who all just seem to be incompetent and don't end up doing anything to help keep the women safe from the psycho killer. The end of the film gets me every time, and I'm just like, how in the hell did these cops not search the entire house? The cops had so many incompetent moments, it was laughable. As I mentioned earlier, this isn't the first slasher film because we already had Psycho, Blood and Black Lace, Peeping Tom, and Silent Night, Bloody Night. but it was the first that used all of the elements used in these various slasher films and became a commercial success. We have the subjective camera showing the POV of the killer, a body count, a faceless killer, dark humor, and a strong female lead. Of course, it's at first annoying that we never see the killer's face, but I think Bob made the right decision in doing this because it made it that much more creepy. Throughout the film, we know the killer is near when we start to see that slightly shaky subjective camera. But then, there are moments when we see that same POV and it turns out to be someone else. After that little switch up, we're then left to wonder if when we see that POV, if it's the killer or someone else. And speaking of Psycho, we have our first victim who ends up wrapped in plastic and left in the attic near the window. I couldn't help but think that this is an ode to Norman Bates, who also poses his dead mother in front of a window. I really don't have any dislikes for this movie. I enjoy watching it every time and think that it was masterfully made. Black Christmas earns 5 Rainbow Skulls out of 5. And right now you can watch it for free on YouTube, Pluto TV, Tubi, and Crackle. You could also watch it on Peacock, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV. Well, thank you again for joining me today, fellow Stardust. I appreciate you being here with me. I'll be back soon with another video, or I may go live soon. We'll see. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and hop on the Rainbow Fright Freight Train and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell. That way you'll get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you liked this video, please hit the like button and share it with a friend. I hope I see you next time. Peace.